Y'all know one thing, being a country boy and all. I love the state of Alabama. My baby girls are in Alabama. I asked myself, though, about this inmate and even the Supreme Court not hearing his case. Not so much because I'm an opponent of the death penalty, but this the same man that they failed to put to death in a botched lethal injection execution. I don't know, y'all. I'm gonna share this story with y'all. Y'all let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to hit that like button, respectfully comment, and subscribe. Let's get into this story.
Carry out a first of its kind execution using nitrogen gas. The Supreme Court chose not to hear an appeal in this case, and the condemned man now faces this untested method after a botched attempt to execute him last year by lethal injection. Lilia Luciano has been following all of this, the case itself. Lilia, good morning.
Good morning to you, Tony. Look, this is a historic execution because it is unprecedented. Kenneth Eugene Smith will be the test subject for this method. His execution is happening 35 years after he was convicted for murder, but only 5 months since the state presented a protocol to use it.
Today, 3 people have been charged with Mrs. Sennett's death.
In 1988, Kenneth Eugene Smith was one of 3 people paid $1,000 in the murder for hire of Elizabeth Dorleen Sennett, a plot engineered by her husband. Smith was sentenced to death. Now Smith is slated to undergo his second attempt of a state execution after Alabama failed the first time by lethal injection in 2022. This time, the state will use nitrogen hypoxia, a gas delivered through a mask. In their arguments to the Supreme Court, Smith and his lawyers stated a second attempt at execution would be a violation of his constitutional rights and amount to cruel and unusual punishment. The High Court declined to intervene or give an explanation. In an earlier 2-1 ruling, a federal appeals court had declined to stop the execution, stating in part, there's no doubt that death by nitrogen hypoxia is both new and novel, but that Smith failed to prove how it violates a constitutional ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Smith spoke to NPR last December.
I'm still carrying trauma from the last time. I'm being treated for PTSD and I struggle. Everybody is telling me that I'm going to suffer.
The untested and untried method is the country's newest form of execution since 1982. Alabama is one of 3 states, along with Oklahoma and Mississippi, that allows for the use of nitrogen gas in executions. But Alabama did not have an approved protocol for the method until this past August. According to Alabama's Department of Corrections, Smith will be strapped to a gurney and a mask will be placed on his face. The nitrogen gas will be administered for 15 minutes or 5 minutes following a flatline indication on the EKG, whichever is longer.
If a little bit of nitrogen gas gets out because the mask fit is not perfect, then the time to death will be, of course, prolonged, and so may the suffering.
Joel Zivit is a professor of anesthesiology and surgery at Emory University. He says there are unknown risks for this never-before-seen method, especially for those who will be in the room.
When they're killing people, they really should be knowing how to do it. The nitrogen gas could leak from the mask. And so whether or not that would be enough nitrogen in the room to actually have an effect on people, it's not clear.
Using executioners who have basically no training in what they're supposed to do and a protocol, then you end up having very serious problems. Hanging, lethal gas, electrocution, lethal injection. This road has led to Alabama using nitrogen hypoxia.
Deborah Deno is a professor of law at Fordham University who has studied the death penalty for over 30 years.
Kenneth Smith is definitely a guinea pig. I mean, he's going to be subject to a method of execution, which, as far as we know, has never been used in the history of the world.